The sun hung lazily over Ouagadougou, casting warm gold across the bustling marketplace. President Ibrahim Traoré moved unnoticed through the crowd, dressed in plain clothes, a white cotton shirt, brown trousers, sandals, and a cap pulled low. No sash of office, no guards in uniform. Just him and two loyal security officers who looked no different than wandering merchants. He passed vendors calling out prices for tomatoes, old women selling roasted peanuts, young men hauling sacks of millet. No one gave him a second glance. To them, he was just another tired man in the market. And that was exactly what he wanted. But before we dive into what happens next, I'd love to know, where are you tuning in from today? Drop a comment below, and please like the video. Thank you. I need to see what they won't show me, he'd said earlier that morning. His wife had touched his arm gently. Just be careful, Ibrahim. There are people who want you gone. He had kissed her forehead and whispered, I'll be back before sunset. Now, as he walked among his people, he felt something stirring in his chest. The stories his ministers told him, of peace, of progress, felt distant from the hunger in these people's eyes. And then he heard something strange, a crackling speaker tied to a stick. Breaking news, a voice shouted. Enemies are plotting to kill President Traoré tonight. He turned, surprised, and saw a boy standing on a metal box. He couldn't have been older than 12. His shirt was torn, his feet bare, and he clutched a busted old radio with tape and wires hanging from it. A few onlookers laughed. Others tossed coins in a plastic cup. But Ibrahim didn't laugh. His heart skipped. He pushed through the crowd, playing the part of a curious bystander. Where'd you hear that news? He asked the boy, keeping his voice casual. The boy looked him up and down. Why do you care? I like news, Ibrahim said. Never heard anything like that before. It's not a joke, uncle, the boy replied. I heard on my shortwave radio. Some men talking in code. They said, tonight is the night. And they said the president's name. I recorded it. Ibrahim's pulse quickened. You have the tape? The boy nodded and pulled out an ancient recorder. It sputtered and hissed, but then voices emerged. He must be gone by morning. Tonight at the council. The guards are ours. Ibrahim stiffened. One of the voices was familiar, deep, smug, and chilling. It belonged to a man he had spoken with just the day before. A minister, a friend. Do you know where the signal came from? Ibrahim asked. I traced the frequency, the boy said proudly. My dad was a soldier. Taught me before he died. Radios are my life now. Ibrahim took a deep breath. He had come to see the truth. Now he had heard it. This boy, this street kid, might have saved his life. I need you to come with me, he said. Why? The boy asked, wary. Because I believe you. He lifted his cap. The boy gasped. You're the president. Keep your voice down, Ibrahim whispered. Not here. The boy trembled. I'm sorry. I didn't know. You did nothing wrong, Ibrahim said. You did everything right. One of the guards leaned in. Sir, we need to move. Bring him, Ibrahim ordered. He's coming with me. They slipped away into an alley, disappearing as quickly as they had come. But somewhere in the crowd, a man with a phone watched them. He turned away and whispered into his mic, he knows. That night, a single black SUV tore through the quiet roads of the capital. No lights, no sirens. Inside, President Traoré sat beside the boy, whose name was Ismail. The boy sat stiffly, still clutching the recorder. Is this real? He asked softly. It's real, Ibrahim said. You're sitting next to the man they're trying to kill. Why do they want you dead? Ibrahim sighed. Because I stopped them from stealing this country. Because I broke their foreign deals. Because I told them no more. Ismail nodded. He understood poverty. He had lived it, breathed it, slept in abandoned buses, ate once a day. His radio had been his only window to the world. You're not like the others, he said quietly. No, Ibrahim agreed. And not everyone likes that. At the palace, Ibrahim summoned Commander Coup, the head of intelligence. They played the tape. Cou's face darkened. It's real, he said. Minister of Defense. Chief of Internal Security. Possibly more. Let them come to the meeting tonight, Ibrahim ordered. Let them think we know nothing. And the boy, Coup asked, he stays. Feed him. Guard him. He's done more than most politicians ever will. The trap was set.by 11 p.m. The council room filled with ministers and generals. They smiled, laughed, exchanged greetings. The Minister of Defense poured himself tea. The traitor was calm. Then President Ibrahim entered. Every man stood. He smiled politely, but his eyes studied the room like a hawk. In his ear, a voice crackled. Sir, whispered Coup. Someone's transmitting live. There's a spy in the room. Ibrahim's heart pounded. He glanced left. The signal came from that side point 3 men. Then it happened. The Minister of Defense knocked over his tea. As he bent to clean it, Ibrahim saw a red, blinking light in his jacket. He pressed the hidden button in his pen. Outside, Coup gave the order, "Go." The palace plunged into darkness. Boom, smoke, screams, glass shattered. Special forces burst in with night vision goggles. Ministers shouted, reaching for cover. Within seconds, they were pinned down. And there it was, the bug, hidden in the traitor's coat. The Minister of Defense pleaded. "They threatened my family." "You had a choice," Ibrahim said coldly. "You chose betrayal." But then chaos. "Sir," a voice yelled from the hall. One guard escaped. Through the back. Ibrahim's heart froze. Ismail Dadi sprinted down the corridor, boots echoing. The guest room door was open. The window wide. A smear of blood on the floor. "Find him," he roared. "Seal the palace." Coup arrived, grim-faced. "This was planned. Check the cameras. They'll be disabled. I'll check the radio tower." A palace guard approached, pale and trembling. "I saw someone go in before the blackout." Heavy set, scar on the cheek. Ibrahim's face hardened. Captain Caleb, a disgraced former soldier. A traitor. Meanwhile, far from the city, a van rattled down a dirt road. Inside, Ismail was bound and gagged. Caleb sat across from him, lighting a cigarette. "You caused a lot of trouble," he said. Ismail glared at him. Caleb ripped the tape from his mouth. "Where's the recording?" "I hid it." Ismail whispered. Caleb punched him. Blood splattered. "Where?" "You'll never find it." Caleb's phone rang. "New orders," a voice said. "The president's close. Get the boy out. Plane leaves in 30 minutes. At the same time, back in the palace, a janitor cleaning the old market speaker noticed something odd. A piece of tape on the back. He peeled it off and found a tiny memory card. Inside the control room, Coup ran in with the card. "We found it." Ibrahim plugged it in. The voices played, clear, undeniable. The betrayal was now truth. The proof was real. And it was thanks to a boy who had risked everything. A private airstrip. The jet's engines roared. Caleb pushed Ismail forward. "You should have stayed quiet," he sneered. But Ismail, battered and bleeding, smiled. They hadn't found the recording. And somewhere someone had. Somewhere, help was already coming. And, as the jet prepared to lift, the night sky split with the sound of helicopters. The hunters were about to become the hunted. Certainly. Here's the continuation of the story, picking up from where we left off, as the night sky roars with the arrival of helicopters. The jungle airstrip trembled. Wind kicked up dust as the military helicopters descended, spotlights slicing through the night. The pilot of the private jet swore and slammed the hatch shut, attempting to rush takeoff. But it was too late. From above, rope lines dropped. Elite paratroopers from the Presidential Guard slid down like silent shadows. Within seconds, the airstrip was swarming. Gunfire cracked, short, controlled bursts. 2 mercenaries ran for the trees and were dropped instantly. Caleb pulled Ismail toward the plane, pistol in hand. "Move," he barked, shoving him forward. The boy stumbled, fell, then rose again. He could hear the soldiers shouting now, closer. Caleb dragged him to the foot of the aircraft ramp. The engines were screaming. A figure appeared on the plane steps, a man in a French suit, hair slicked, eyes cold as steel. The spy, the very one Ibrahim Traoré had feared, was embedded within their intelligence apparatus. A foreign operative, and now exposed. "You said he was alone," the spy growled. "I didn't expect choppers." Caleb shouted back. "You failed." Then, with stunning speed, the spy pulled a silenced pistol and fired twice. Caleb dropped. Ismail froze, stunned. Blood pooled beside him. The spy raised the pistol to the boy, but a sharp whistle split the air. Crack! The sniper's round caught the spy in the shoulder, spinning him backwards. He fell, screaming, and rolled down the ramp, clutching his arm. Before he could react, boots stomped around him. 2 elite soldiers pinned him to the ground, rifles trained on his chest. From the helicopter, Ibrahim Traoré stepped down. He wore a flak jacket over a simple brown tunic. No medals, no ceremony, just purpose. He strode toward Ismail, who was now being untied by medics. "You're safe now," Ibrahim said, kneeling beside him. Ismail looked up, dazed. "You came? You saved my life, boy," Ibrahim said. "I would tear down every wall in this country to return the favor." The spy was hauled to his feet, blood soaking his sleeve. "You won't make it to trial," the spy spat. Ibrahim stepped closer. He turned to Coup, who had just landed in the second chopper. "Secure him. Maximum isolation. No contact." Coup nodded. "He's French intelligence. Name, is Arnaud Levius. Been in Burkina for 2 years, posing as a business attaché. He's more than that, Ibrahim said. He's the spider in the web. And Caleb? Saiku asked. Ibrahim glanced at the lifeless body. He made his choice. Ismail clutched Ibrahim's hand. The voice on the tape. It was him. Arnaud. I recognize it now. Then we have it all, Ibrahim said. The evidence. The spy. The betrayal. He looked up at the stars above the jungle. Calm was returning. But this was not the end. This was only the beginning. 2 days later, Presidential Palace, Ouagadougou. The Grand Hall had never been this full. Ministers stood tense. Journalists lined the edges, and foreign ambassadors sat in silence. Cameras were rolling. President Ibrahim Traoré stood at the podium. 2 nights ago, he began, an attempt was made to destroy the future of this country. He paused. Murmurs rippled. But thanks to the courage of one young citizen, he continued, gesturing toward the side of the hall. We are here, unbroken. The doors opened. Ismail walked in. His wounds were bandaged, and he wore a new shirt, pressed clean, with a medal already pinned to it. He stood beside the president. This boy risked his life to expose treason. When our enemies tried to silence him, he fought back. He believed in truth more than in fear. The crowd burst into applause. Ibrahim raised his hand. And now, let me be very clear. Burkina Faso will not be a playground for foreign manipulation. Our sovereignty is not for sale. Our people are not pawns. The room thundered in agreement. That evening, as the sun dipped low, Ibrahim and Ismail sat together on the palace balcony. You changed everything, Ibrahim said. Ismail smiled. I just listened to my radio. You trusted your instincts. You saw what others missed. What happens now? Ibrahim stood. We rebuild. We protect. We move forward. He looked out at the city, lights flickering on like stars. But first, I want you to have something. He handed Ismail a small box. Inside, a shortwave radio, restored, modern, with a brass plate engraved with his name. Keep listening, Ibrahim said. We need more like you. Ismail's eyes lit up. He cradled the radio as if it were treasure. And for the first time in a long time, the future felt bright. Absolutely. Let's continue the story, now shifting into an international, high-stakes phase as Ibrahim Traoré takes the fight beyond Burkina Faso's borders. The opulence of the marble corridors couldn't mask the anxiety in the room. A closed-door meeting had been called at midnight. Ministers, generals, and the head of the DGC, France's Foreign Intelligence Service, were gathered. The arrest of Arnaud Levius had detonated like a bomb through diplomatic circles. Traoré is demanding formal extradition of French personnel implicated in the operation, the interior minister snapped. He's got audio, video, even satellite coordinates. And he's not bluffing, the DGSE director added grimly. His people cracked our comms relay in Bobo Dioulasso. Everything Levius reported, it's now in his hands. And what's worse, the foreign minister added, Traoré's going public. He's scheduled to speak at the African Union in 2 days. Silence. The president of France, who had just entered, poured himself a glass of water. Then we will remind him who sets the global order, he said coldly. Ibrahim Traoré reviewed the intercepted French military comms. It was all there. Directives to destabilize Burkina's leadership, to arm rival factions, and to prevent regional cooperation among West African nations. This is war, said Saiku. No, Ibrahim replied. This is empire resisting its death. He turned to his team. We strike at their narrative, not with bullets, but with truth. 1,000 eyes watched as Ibrahim Traoré entered the summit hall. Cameramen jostled for a better angle. Delegates murmured that he wore no tie, only the insignia of his office. In a steel gaze that silenced the room, he stepped to the podium and adjusted the microphone. My fellow leaders, he began, we have all felt it, the weight of unseen chains. The invisible hand that funds our conflicts, starves our economies, and topples our leaders when we dare to stand. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the hall. But this week, Burkina Faso caught the hand in the act. He motioned to a technician. The screens lit up behind him. Video footage played. Arnaud Levius giving orders. Maps marked with infiltration routes. Audio of him naming French corporate interests that benefited from chaos in the Sahel. The hall erupted, gasps, shouts, some in disbelief, others in fury. I'm not here to ask for sympathy, Ibrahim said. I am here to call for solidarity. He raised a hand. Today we form the Pan-African Sovereignty Bloc. Economic coordination, joint intelligence, continental defense. A stunned silence, then applause. Roars of approval from Mali, from Niger, from Guinea. Even cautious nods from more conservative leaders. The tide was turning. "She's calling," said the DGSE director, handing the secure phone to the president. "Who?" "Washington." The French president took the call with shaking fingers. The voice was cold and American. "You've lost Burkina. If you mishandle this, you'll lose the entire Sahel. We suggest damage control." The call ended. For the first time in a decade, the president of France realized France no longer ruled Africa. Back in Ouagadougou, Ibrahim stood on the rooftop of the palace, the city stretching before him like a sea of lights. Ismail joined him, now wearing a clean uniform, an honorary cadet of the Presidential Guard. "You think they'll come again?" the boy asked. "They always come," Ibrahim replied. "But next time, we won't be alone." He placed a hand on Ismail's shoulder. "You ready to help build the new Africa?" Ismail smiled. "Always." Above them, the stars shimmered over a continent awakening. The winds over Ouagadougou carried a different sound now. No longer whispers of dread or colonially financed insurgencies, but the rising thunder of awakening. Across the continent, something had stirred, a rhythm older than the map lines that once divided her. And at the center of this tremor stood Ibrahim Traoré, no longer just a captain, no longer simply a president, but a symbol. In Paris, the empire bled in silence. Protests erupted near the National Assembly. African diaspora flooding the streets with drums, chants, flags. "Libérez l'Afrique," they cried, voices echoing against centuries of gilded arrogance. The French government scrambled, imposing media blackouts, scrambling to retain control. But it was too late. The images from the African Union Summit had gone viral. Every encrypted file, every exposed scheme, every trembling confession of Agent Levieux had reached the public. No disinformation campaign could unring that bell. Traoré had not merely revealed a spy. He had unveiled an entire architecture of manipulation. And in doing so, he had become something larger than life. A lion in the age of ghosts. In Bamako, President Goïta pledged full allegiance to the Pan-African sovereignty bloc. In Niamey, General Tiani declared the end of all remaining French military installations in Niger. Even South Africa's parliament held an emergency session, debating formal military cooperation with West Africa. The chain reaction Traoré had unleashed was no longer in the realm of politics. It was a spiritual event, the revival of a continental soul. And yet, the empire would not go quietly. The DGC, cornered and enraged, activated their last resort. Operation Glaive Noir, the Black Blade. A network of mercenaries, warlords, and disavowed foreign agents, all pooled from the dark corners of past regimes, were contracted to plunge Burkina Faso into chaos. Their orders: destabilize the capital, assassinate Ibrahim, dismantle the bloc before it gained permanence. But the ground had changed. When the first mercenary cell crossed the Ghanaian border, they were met not by an army, but by farmers, hunters, women with rifles strapped to their backs, and soldiers who sang revolutionary hymns from their armored vehicles. 1,000 communities, once scattered, now fused into a single organism, vigilant, fearless, unyielding. Ibrahim had built more than an alliance. He had ignited a code of honor, of unity, of resistance that he himself led the counter-operation, not from behind a desk, but in the mud and jungle alongside his people. Dressed in olive fatigues and draped in the tricolor of the Pan-African movement, he moved like myth through the battlefield, always one step ahead, always striking where morale was low and hearts were weakest. The final confrontation took place in the goldfields of Essakane, where the enemy had fortified an abandoned French mining compound. Under a blazing sun, Traoré's elite strike force launched a coordinated assault. Drones captured the charge, black and green banners waving, war drums pounding through speakers, bullet tracers lighting the horizon. In the heart of the chaos, Ibrahim breached the command bunker himself. There, face to face with the commander of Glaive Noir, a former French Foreign Legion colonel, he offered no words, only justice. A single shot ended the operation, but what followed would ripple through every intelligence agency on Earth. Across social media, one video reigned. Ibrahim Traoré, standing on the steps of the Seas compound, holding high the shredded flag of the foreign occupiers. Below him, soldiers chanted his name. Around the world, millions joined them. From Sao Paulo to Dakar, from Kinshasa to Atlanta, the cry was the same: Africa rises with the lion. In secret boardrooms, in echoing UN halls, and in trembling embassies, the old order watched as the myth became a movement, and Ibrahim, his eyes fixed not on revenge but resurrection, knew this was only the beginning. That he turned to his generals. Prepare the next phase. They asked him, where do we go next? He answered without hesitation, everywhere they thought we wouldn't.